Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know where you're listening from, but we are so excited to bring you another episode of Motivated to Purpose. I am Dr. Juanette Turner, and I am your host. So, just to tell you a little bit about Motivated to Purpose, we are a transformative podcast, and we're dedicated to coaching, counseling, and motivating individuals to reach the fullness of their potential. I am excited today about our guest. We have Miss Rosalind Reeder here today. Yes. And before I give her an opportunity to share, I want to tell you a little bit about her. So Rosalind Reeder is the proud entrepreneur and founder of Queenie Spot, a mobile business she launched in August of 2022. After having more than 15 years of curating elegant British style afternoon tea parties via various organizations, Rosalind's passion for starting a business began. And so Queenie Spot was born out of her deep desire to create a space where people can connect, build relationships, and simply enjoy life together. Her entrepreneurial spirit, creativity, and oh my God, is she creative? And a love for hospitality shines through every event she hosts. And I have been at some of her events. Rosalind leaped into entrepreneurship following her retirement from AT&T, where she dedicated 33 and a half years of service before retiring in October of 2021. Rather than slowing down, she saw retirement as the perfect opportunity to pursue a lifelong held dream of becoming a business owner. Her community service also has included several positions: former vice president and current event coordinator of the Women in Action Ministry, church school teacher for Clara Breyer and Oscar Williams class, and one of 6 church school deans. Rosalind exemplifies how it is never too late to pursue your dream, embrace a new chapter, and leave a legacy of joy and connection through entrepreneurship. Rosalind, so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
So, and I'm loving your crown. I can't get past that. You know, I'm gonna go to my questions, but I'm loving your crown. Loving
Thank you.
it. So tell us, what inspired you to turn your passion for afternoon tea into a mobile business?
Okay, sure. First of all, let me thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to gain exposure. So first, I want to thank you, Dr. Juanette Turner, for that. And to answer your question, it's all started. I worked for AT&T for 33 and a half years, like you mentioned, and I was a part of an employee resource group, women's employee resource group, and I was the program director for it, and I was in charge of our monthly luncheons. And so I had to go out and find speakers for throughout the city to come and speak on like work-life balance, how to get promoted, just things to encourage women. But I decided that I would at least one of those lunches a year make it something just totally fun. We'll learn something, but it's going to be fun. So I started with the tea party, and after that, I've come to find out from a friend that was actually from England that I wasn't having real tea parties, and she explained to me what that real looked like, and I followed her directions on that, and everything took off from there. And I saw how our membership, the women's membership at AT&T, how it grew and everybody became engaged, and that was the one of the very few luncheons that we would have where everybody wanted to get involved with what can they do to help prepare to make that day a success. On any of the others, most of the time it was me going out finding the speakers, blah blah, and But when it came time to start having an annual afternoon tea or a tea party, as they were calling it at first, I had the help of anybody that would help. So that's kind of where it
Okay.
all kind of started.
Well, how
Yes.
amazing is that? That sounds so amazing. It's just aligned itself so perfectly to
Yes.
to even have someone that's from England to be able to direct you and give you some real good insight regarding the tea parties.
Oh, absolutely. It was very funny. As a matter of fact, I used to also be on the San Antonio Women's Chamber of Commerce. So that's where I met this person, and she was actually one of the best connectors that I know. And we would always catch up with each other after our meetings with the San Antonio Women's Conference. And so she just happened to, she knew that I was the program director for the women's organization at AT&T, and she just happened to ask me one day after the meeting, "Hey, Roswell, what are you up to? Who are you planning to have speak or whatever?" And I just, say, "Hey, we're doing a tea party in a couple of months." And she said, tea party. I said, "Yeah, we're doing a tea party." She said, "Well, are you going to have scones?" I'm like, "No." "Are you going to do clotted cream?" "No, what in the world is clotted cream?" And she said, "Well, are you going to even have tea from England?" And I said, "No." And so then she said, "Well, you're not having a tea party then." She said, "I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to tell you what to do and where to go and how to get it, but I'm going to do you one better and come and show you about the etiquette and the history and the culture behind the afternoon tea." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know it was all of that." So when she came and did that, everybody was just pretty much blown away. I mean, we started getting our participation up. We went from like 50 people to well over 100 people. Just that just really drew an interest. And as a matter of fact, as the years went on, I did that for like 15 years. People started wanting to like decorate their own tables and that kind of thing, which took a lot of work off of me. So we have like 8 to 10 people to the table, and everybody, each table had a different theme and whatever. So it grew to that. That's how fun and engaging. And then really the icebreaker was when people would show up. That became the automatic icebreaker because we everybody was dressed in their tea attire, and we don't normally dress like that, so that automatically just start getting people to interact with one another.
Yes, that is I mean, it sounds so just perfectly aligned. So tell us, when did you first realize that this could become more than, hey, okay, yeah, we're doing this with
Mhm.
AT&T, and now
Right.
how does it become more than just that?
Well, so did that a couple of years, and so we're talking annually for about 3 years, and then so at my church I was on the, as you mentioned, I was part of the women's ministry, and somebody said, "Let's have a tea party." Now, I didn't do the afternoon tea there, but I saw, somebody, it was like how everybody even we had camaraderie there, even. It was a different type of camaraderie. Like we had one lady that had all of the chair covering and sashes in her garage. So she brought that. We had another lady that knew how to do the bite-sized stuff, and we knew, I was doing the decorating, setting everything in place. So, and again, somebody else was handling photography. So it was just a matter of all this camaraderie coming around tea party and people being excited. And then again, when it was time for the tea party, everybody showing up, we dressed it in ways that we typically don't dress: the hats, the fascinator, the pearls, the boas, the lace gloves, the satin gloves, the hankies, the teacups. I mean, everybody just, it's like I watch people transform into someone else when they are in that manner.
Oh, that it and it sounds so. It sounds eloquent, and I know I've been to a
Yes,
tea party with you. I've been to a tea party where you've hosted, so I know it just the ambiance of it all just allows you to be transformed and transferred into another
absolutely.
space in time,
Absolutely.
and just to embrace that. So tell me, how did you? when did you discover, or how did you discover, hey, this is what I want to do? This is what I want to do as a business.
Well, so, like you mentioned, I retired in 2021, and I was good with like not having, well, I can't say I've never had anything to do because I had, I was on other ministries and organizations. So I never got down to nothing to do. But it's like, I don't want to go back to corporate America, 401k, okay. And then I got my other stack of money over here. So, but eventually it's like, okay, I'm going to need to do something. And so I said, well, I enjoy this. This is not work to me. So even though it's work, it's not work, if that makes sense. And so I said, well, let me see if it's just number fun and making money off, me having fun, why not? So I kind of slowly got into it, I joined the entrepreneur group and started doing classes and getting my DBA, my LLC, and all of the other stuff. Everything didn't happen overnight. I was just kind of, I could do a afternoon tea in my sleep, but I needed to learn the business side of how to run a small business as opposed to just jumping in there, start doing things, and then find out later, oh, I was supposed to do this. And, oh, I'm supposed to have an LLC. Oh, I knew better than that out of my experience with being in corporate America for 33 and a half years.
So tell us about the name Queenie Spot. Does it have a story behind it?
Oh, absolutely. So Queenie is the name that I gave myself as my grandmother name. Like my granddaughter, who's 17 now, was I got to name her, and I named her Raina, which means queen. So I wanted a grandmother's name that was tied to her name. And so, back then it was fun and proper for everybody. Nobody wants to be called grandma anymore. If you got the Mimas and Mimis and all of that, I'm like, and grandmas, I don't want to be any of that. I don't want to be grandma, but I don't want to be Mimi, grandma, and all of that. So I just came up with Queenie. So that's where the Queenie part of it came from. And the spot comes from, it has a dual meaning. Spot is because, anybody knows me knows I love leopard print. So spot me. That's right. So spot me, and I have it incorporated into my business. I have leopard print teacups and everything. So Queenie Spot also meaning place, meaning Queenie Spot could be anywhere, not just in one place. Though eventually I do plan on getting a brick and mortar. I feel like it's not necessary now, especially with everything that's going on in our society these days. I know I can make money before I get a brick and mortar. So I'm going the safe route is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of where Queenie Spot comes from.
I love it. I love it. I love the leopard print spots and the spot, right?
And spot meaning place. Yes. I'm going over there and check that spot out.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I love the story behind it. So when people hear about the name, any first time reactions that you've heard or seen when people hear Queenie Spot?
Yeah, they do ask how did I come up with Queenie Spot, and everybody seems to enjoy the story and everything. And it's kind of apparent that, okay, the leopard print does fit in. So I get a lot of, it's a lot of lighthearted conversation when I go to explain how did I come up with Queenie Spot.
Yes, so good. So tell us, how do you craft a unique and memorable tea party experience for your guests?
Okay, cool. So, and that's a really great question. Is for me, like I grew up in the party house. My parents, we were the come and play the spades and bid whiz, and so I was always used to having people come around and have a good time every weekend, whatever, Easter, whatever. I had the party house, and as an adult, with my daughter, her friends were over all the time and had the party house. And so even for Raina, even though it's not always my house, it's wherever. So I'm taking the party. It's like I like to see people have a great time is what it is. And, we need to escape some of the seriousness and craziness of life sometime and just come together. And I feel like people are our most valuable commodity. You know, people tend to put a lot of value in their cars and their houses and bank accounts and stuff. But honestly, it's if you know a good person and you can connect with that person, there's not a greater value. So I realized that, and just to see people come together and have a great time, and show up. And for me, I encourage interaction. It's like you're coming to, so it's not really a tea party; it's a tea experience. So you're coming, even if you come by yourself, I guarantee you're going to meet a friend or two before you leave. I mean, you know that yourself. You see, you sit down at a table, you may not know the person next to you, but as I walk everybody through, the culture and the history behind how it all started. And then what people don't realize is that so I'm taking these cucumber sandwiches, which most people never have before they come to the afternoon tea experience. So we've gone through the scones and the clotted cream. If I just took that and just put it in front of everybody and say, hey, all right, go for it. 9 times out of 10, especially people that really don't like to try food, they won't taste it. Or, it'll be a waste of food. And it's way too expensive just to let it sit on that 3-tier server. So the cool thing about it is everybody gets to sit at the table together and learn and walk through and taste and make it. And I'm asking them, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So that really, believe it or not, something as simple as asking how you feel about this and what do you think about that? And your opinion is valid. It means a lot to people. And so my tagline is where you're treated like royalty. So everybody, it's like there's not one special person in the room. Everybody is special. And believe it or not, people, if you've never been called king or queen before, that's a big deal. And especially, I see, and that's the other thing. I'm trying to do some events where I include the men because I don't want it to be just an all ladies thing. It's for whoever wants to come. And I want it to be where whoever comes feels welcome and feels a part of and participate. And believe it or not, the guys have more fun than the lady. First of all, they get to eat. And then if you're calling King Charles or King Frank, look, the girlfriends and the wives be like, look, he can't even leave here because his head too big to fit through the doorway. So
I love it.
I'm like, okay, not my problem. I'm gonna let you deal with that. But and I've had a man say, wow, he says nobody's ever called me king before. Even in that same house, brother, you're king. Go and don't leave it here. Take it with you.
Yeah.
And don't settle for anything less going forward. So, so to me, it's not about the tea. It's really not about the food. It's about the camaraderie that comes from all of that. And again, everybody just having a good time. And I do my best to make sure everything tastes right because who wants food that don't taste good? So even for people, I had a lady say, oh, I don't like cucumbers. But she ended up tasting the cucumber sandwiches and now she likes cucumbers or she likes cucumber sandwiches. What is clotted cream? Okay, it don't sound good, but it tastes good. So it's fun. I like to hear people say, I don't like this or I don't do that. And I was just, hey, everything is bite size. All you got to do is taste. If you don't like it, you can put it back on your plate. My feelings won't be hurt, and I believe the person sitting next to you, their feelings won't be hurt either. So this is one of those taste and try, and if you don't like, we can move forward. No hurt feelings.
You know what, as you were talking and I'm reflecting on just my experience at a tea party, I think about, again, you're getting opportunity to meet some people that you don't know. So you get this sense of community in that respect. And then also you're getting the education. You're getting this education about tea parties and etiquette and while you're there experiencing it, you're still getting the education in that. And then you're getting this encouragement and, the encouraging queen, king. Those are all encouraging words that people need to experience. And like you said, and I want you to not just, I don't want you to just be here and have it. I want you to take that experience with you wherever you go. And so I hear just, it's just a good time and it can be very transformative for people, just transforming who they are, not just in the setting, but
Absolutely.
transformative even as they exit and they go back to their life as they know it, right? And so I think that's so
Absolutely.
amazing. I love having it as an experience, because it really is an experience and a wonderful experience. So yeah, so I'm already giving a plug. If you've not reached out to Queenie Spot, her information is going to be posted below, so you'll be having opportunity to reach out to her. So tell us, what makes British tea style afternoon teas so special to you, and how
Mhm.
do how do you see them respond to it?
It's special to me. For whatever reason, I'm just fascinated with the elegance. I'm fascinated with the the culture of it and just the sheer royalty of it. When I watch like Bridgerton and how they conduct themselves, I mean, the British, they were all about class. They were all about, elegance and all about just doing things in a proper way, in a respectful way, in a loving way, And so I just really would like to just immerse that into our culture, because I think sometimes we're missing it, and a lot of things that grandma and mama and grandma and aunties taught us, it's, to me, I seem like it's less and less of that. And I just would like to do my best in just bringing some of that sophistication and elegance, so not just on the outside, but on the inside as well, back to our culture and back to us as a people.
That is that is
And I'm just using it.
no, go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying, I'm just using this as an avenue to do that. So again, it's not even about the scones and crumpets and all that. I like all of that because it's different and something that we don't normally do, because and I think people are intrigued by when, okay, I've never had a crumpet before. I've never had the lemon curd or all this other stuff I can't pronounce, or tea from England. I even get the cheese from England. And people, the other thing I realize is people do enjoy learning the etiquette part of it. And you figure, okay, well, I'm 40, I'm 50 years old. I don't need any etiquette. Trust me. By the time we all go through it together, as it started with, the RSVPs, or first of all, did you acknowledge the people in the room, the table, and all of that? We tend to not think about that, because in a society, a lot of times we step into places and it's okay not to say hello to the person next to you and whatever. So that's one thing I like to get away from. But even just the simple as when someone invites you to something, you need to respond. We figure, okay, I'm 40, 50 years old. People ought to know to do that. Some people don't,
No.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
Or they know and they just don't. But just simple stuff like that, encouraging people to just be thoughtful in their day to day.
Yes. So I heard just this model, right? We get this model, and then you get to bring this more of a, let's see, it brings you to a different place, right? It brings you to a different status, right? And even from a biblical perspective, we're kingdom
Absolutely.
citizens, right? So we're
Yeah.
kingdom
Yeah.
citizens, and we are a part of the king's family. And so being
Absolutely.
able to be in that setting, and if you are spiritually in that respect, then you
Mhm.
can bring that to that setting too. So with that, how has your faith shaped your approach to business?
Well, and then to your point about understanding that we are the king and queens of the Most High, so we should be governing ourselves accordingly. Um, just learning again, everything stems from love. God is love, love is God. And just being able to do something where, a lot of times people think, okay, well, I can love God, but I don't have to love my brothers and sisters. I can treat them any kind of way, and that, which is to be so far from the truth as it relates to the Bible. I mean, society may accept that, but in scripture, if you're reading your word, you got to treat your brothers and sisters right. And things ought to come from the heart, not from the mind or your mouth, but from the heart. And so to me, I feel like this is definitely putting me on the right avenue to get people just to even see themselves in the midst of whatever it is that we're, even if you're sipping on some tea or whatever. We're having, I throw in certain questions and stuff just to kind of get people's minds going while they're eating that scone and, while they're drinking their tea. And, so again, and I'm glad that you asked because that's a great question. Keeping my faith in the midst of everything I do, because I certainly want God to be with me as I do this. So that's because I know that's the only way I would prosper. In Jeremiah 29:11 is one of my favorite scriptures. Of course, I know the plans I have for you. And it's like if you take that and make it personal, wow, God has plans for me, plans, not to. And if you put your name's where the I is, I learned that from our late Pastor Walker and Bible study one time. I'm like, wow, that was just mind blowing. So, that's kind of one of the things that I go on.
That is so good. And so I hear, just bringing this experience and just all of who you are and bringing it to Queenie's Spot and being able to just encourage people to help them to establish new community. That's a part of
Yes.
it too, because people
Yes.
meet people, they get to establish new community, they get to see themselves in a different light, they get the education, the knowledge of this experience, they get to walk away with this wonderful experience that they can take with them to
Yes.
future, even future
Yes.
dinners, plans, right? Because now you've
Absolutely.
learned these skills, you've learned the appropriate etiquette in this setting, and you don't even know what that's going to produce for you because it is about how we behave and how we are,
Absolutely.
how people see us. And then I love the way you couched it in just the love and loving people and just being that authentic love that we have for one another and bringing that into that setting as well. I think that is so
Yes.
awesome. So awesome.
Yes. And it's funny that because one thing I do remember when I first got into corporate America, attending a luncheon with a lot of high ranking people, what I didn't realize is that you're judged even at a setting where you've got your plate in front of you, you got 59 forks and spoons and knives, and I didn't grow up like that. So you don't, you got 3, 4 forks on one side and 2 or 3 spoons, 7 knives, but you don't know which
You know
one
what?
to
You are
grab first.
hilarious. She said 7 knives. Okay.
Look, I'm just saying a knife of butter, a knife of, crackers, a knife of cheese. I was overwhelmed, but what I realized is that the eyes were going back and forth. So they they understood whether or not you were cultured based on what you picked up off the table and when, and if it was the right one at the right time for the right meal, right thing, that food to eat that's in front of you. And then if you did the wrong thing, you were considered uncultured, and it was unspoken. And so I used to even at work do the other, what we call our BMW, which eventually I'm going to get off into that. It's just for people that are in business, being able to conduct yourself at a banquet table or whatever when you have all of that. And like I said, because growing up in the household, you got your plate, your food, you got the food at the stove, and you sit down and ate. You didn't have all of that. So nobody ever taught me before I got that. But again, realizing later on, I had one of my friends say, yeah, they judged you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Based off? And again, it's always unspoken. Always unspoken.
Yes, yes. And, as you're saying that, of course, my mind is just traveling back to, just knowing that. Yeah. So if you don't have some experiences and you don't have some knowledge, then, you may not be in certain settings or be in certain rooms because you don't have it. And so
I won't get invited back. Yes.
or don't get invited back. Yes.
Yes.
And so being able to have this experience at Queenie's Spot, and and it's not, hey, we're just gonna drill you, but you're actually enjoying this setting
Exactly.
and just the ambiance and the total experience of it
Yes.
makes it a wonderful learning experience, and then you walk away with so much from the experience. So that is, I'm excited. So are there any new offerings or events coming up?
So yes, there's one coming up on Saturday, next Saturday, April the 19th at 5 o'clock at 1 Watson Rooftop. And the cool thing about this one, I'm so very excited about, is that we will get to watch the sunset on this one because we're going to be on the rooftop. And I could have had the tea at 2 o'clock, but I said, you know what? I want to do something even more so different. I wanted to start at 5. So by the time we're at the end of the tea experience, we will all witness the sunset together. And then we will be taking a toast to whatever libation people have in front of them.
Nice. That sounds so
Yes.
amazing.
It's really cool. So, and that one is $85 a person. And then I have a Kentucky Derby, Divas and Dapper Dans, afternoon tea, and day party at Midtown Lounge on Saturday, May 3rd. That is the weekend of the Kentucky Derby. So and I thought this was pretty cool to be able to mix the two together. Again, this is another initiative to get men involved, but for the Kentucky Derby, it's like the most and best over the top hats the ladies are wearing, and the guys are there all dressed with their Sears sucker suits and whatever, fedoras. They're dressed to the nine, so that's the kind of stuff I like. So I'm blending an afternoon tea with that first, so everybody gets that experience because it's from the same culture. And then right after that, there'll be a day party, and we will end that afternoon tea with the mint julep. So that is like the signature drink for Kentucky Derby. So we're going to do that and try to turn the place into Churchill Downs is where, is the name of where it's normally held. So those are two that I'm really excited about, and I'm working on, this is a year for collaboration for me. I want to just be able to go to some other places since I'm, I don't have a brick and mortar. I do from time to time do some at my house when it's small, and I'm hosting sometime, and then sometimes somebody may want to host a party here, or I do go to other people's houses. But what I did learn last year is I don't want to be tugging a lot of tables and all of that other stuff. So I'm going to do less tugging tables and everything, especially when it starts to get over 100 degrees. It's not fun. So either it's going to be either at my house or it'll be at some place where I don't have to tug tables and chairs and everything.
Yes, well, so exciting. So listeners, viewers, please click into the links. There will be posted below for both events, both awesome events that are coming up. One next weekend. So please link in, and we'll plan to see you there at the place. See you there. Thank you so much, Rosalind, for being here today and sharing with us all of what's happening with Queenie Spot and things that are upcoming with Queenie Spot. So we are so excited for you, and I'm looking forward to attending some of the events as well. So listeners, if you will just like, subscribe, and share with those who are listening and they are interested in sharing this podcast with others, and learning about business, learning about Queenie Spot, and also once again plan to attend. So we are so excited to have you here today, and we're thankful for everyone who has tuned in. Again, Rosalind, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Yes. So I do have a Facebook page, Queenie Spot, QUEENIE_S Spot on Facebook. And I just dropped those two links for both of the events in the chat box.
Awesome. Awesome so much. Okay, well, everyone, we will see you next time. Okay.